just give yourself the opportunity. If you want to make a change, make it. It might be where you're supposed to be. It might just bring you through an experience that leads you to something else. A little farm girl who got her experience in banking now owns an investment firm. If that can happen for me, what other people want to do can happen for them. Trust me.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we have Pam Prine. Pam, we're so glad you're here with us. Thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Pam, for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, what your initial career was, and how long you were in that line of work?
Initially, I started working in banking. And that was back in the late 70s, early 80s, with inflation was crazy. And, but it was really an educational time for me. And so I worked for the Idaho First National Bank. And I started in there as a teller, as most people do. And then I moved over to new accounts and customer service. And I ended up in senior customer service. So I was there about 8 years.
Mm-hmm. And then what have you transitioned in now? What new path have you gone down?
Well, the new path I'm on now is I actually own a retirement planning and investment firm. I'm one of two owners, so I'm co-owner and founder of Keystone Capital Management Group. So it's interesting. They are both, deal with finances and money. But I think one of the biggest differences is when you were in the bank, people came to you. And you were always busy because people were coming in, they were needing a bank. And now that I have transitioned into investments and financial advising and financial planning, we have to go out there and get the clients. And it's much different. And it's both about serving people and helping them get to a better place. But it's different going out and getting the clients.
Yeah. What's your business model look like on that? Is it traditional investments? Is it a wider range?
We actually do everything. We are both fully licensed and we're independent. And so we have a broker dealer who oversees us. We also do advisory, assets under management, and then we also have the life and health insurance. And so we can do it all. But we focus on preparing for retirement, getting to and through, and particularly the distribution phase. I think that's something, a lot of people have accumulated their own assets, but there's so many things now with the Secure Act and in distribution and how taxable money might affect your Medicare and what you're taxed on with Social Security. So we really try to specialize in that distribution phase.
Right. Do you find challenging in today's environment with such low interest rates as far as the need for yield? And planning around that?
Yes. And one of the most difficult things that we hear, and there's a lot of people who want this, and they're like, I just want to get more money than I can get at the bank, but I don't want any risk. So what have you got for me? And it's like, that's a difficult market right now. Bonds used to be the safe place to go for that. And now they've got their own issues. So, but it makes me think back now comparing the markets that we have now versus the ones that I had back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was high inflation then. It was back in the Jimmy Carter days. And the lowest rate that you could get, we called it kind of the dregs, was the old passbook savings accounts. You guys might remember that. Yeah, but it was 5.75%. And that was where nobody wanted to be. But yet I remember paying out 15% on CDs. Can you imagine 15% on CDs? But we were also paying between 9 and 18% for homes.
Right.
Things cost a lot, but at least if you were on the savings end and had money to save at the bank, you could still get a very, very good return. Now we have very low interest rates and very high cost of goods. We still have fairly low interest rates for housing. It really cracks me up when people say, oh, rates are going to 4%. What are we going to do? Yeah. I'm like, serious? My first house was 12%. Yeah. And I was glad to have it. So, and the homes weren't as expensive, but I find this a very intriguing market. And one of the biggest jobs that I have now is to help people keep the emotions out of it, to talk them off the cliff. Yeah, we're in difficult times right now, but we've had difficulties all through history. We're going to make it. We're going to be fine. And, just kind of helping them establish realistic goals for the time. So it's a lot of fun, very rewarding.
Absolutely. I mean, you look like, even like, the headline inflation numbers, if that's, 6, 8, 7%, you've got to make that just to stay even, right? Before your return on money, just to not lose purchasing power. So it's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of
I think, gosh, if we had a 5.75% passbook savings that people could park in, but it's difficult right now to even get that. And the volatility is scary with all the news and all the geopolitical, that we have. It's a very interesting time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, certainly. How long has Keystone been around?
Keystone has been here, let's see, I think it was March of 16 that Kim and I joined forces. We have both been advisors since 2003.
Oh, wow.
So we've got, 19 years each. And we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we've had different business partners. So, but we joined together forces and decided to go independent together. And so when you're independent, you get to choose your own name. It's not Charles Schwab, it's not Merrill Lynch, but it's, so that's something we struggle with because a lot of people want that brand name, although there's some restrictions you get with that. So again, it's attracting the clients who are looking for us. But with independence, it gives us the opportunity to go anywhere we need to in the market for the client. We aren't encouraged to use certain companies or certain funds because the company gets paid a little more on the back, which isn't illegal, but you just need to disclose it. And a lot don't. So, but we're just holistic. We're out there. We don't get incentives for using anything. And we feel like we can keep that fiduciary obligation that we have to the clients in this situation. So we like it.
Good. Good.
Oh, excellent.
So, Pam, is there, sorry, Bill, is there, Pam, back from your banking days or perhaps your early retirement advisory days before Keystone, or is there a funny story that you can share with us, something that made you scratch your head? Sure.
So back at the bank, I was there 8 years, and then I actually was blessed to be able to stay home and raise my kids, but they would call me back to come in and help people, when they went on vacation and such. So I really enjoyed doing that. And one time they called me back to come in because the operations supervisor was going to be gone. And so I came in and was helping her. And it just so happened or helping her while she was gone. And it just so happens that it was scheduled for an audit to come in. So I was busy, balancing the general ledger books, the debits and credits, and all of that stuff that we used to do by hand. And I was off by $98,500. And I couldn't figure out, because there had been some initials that it had been checked and everything, was in balance. And so I was really struggling with this. And I saw one day where it went off 10,000, one day where it went off 11, 15 another day. And I was really confused. And they were like putting pressure on me. Pam, you got to get these accounts balanced. So when the auditors walked in, I was still working on it. The auditors came in, and long story short, I was uncovering an embezzlement from an employee there. And it broke my heart because of my relationship with that employee. And so that was very difficult, but all in the end, of course, there were several months and the FBI and everyone was involved in it. And kind of when all the dust settled and they had an employee meeting and they invited me in, and I was able to, and I don't know if you can see this or we're even recording, but they presented me with this golden eagle, which was the kind of the mascot for the bank, that, the eagle in Idaho, whatever. So, and the manager there said, Pam, or we're going to present Pam with, an award for her diligence or whatever. And so I opened it and it was this eagle. And he said, you know what? I've always wanted to give you the bird. So that was one.
That's good. Hey, save the Keystone story. We'll get to that later.
Okay,
but that's great. And I tell you what, again, as much as you mentioned, it was hard because you knew the person. Obviously, as a bank and as a fiduciary, you that's wrong, and you got to expose it and shine the flashlight. Difficult. Oh, that's tough. Okay. Wow. Yeah. but you save the bank's reputation. So nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Pam, what was a deciding factor in leaving your initial career in the banking and going the more entrepreneurial and the investment you have now?
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, I grew up on a farm in Idaho, on a potato farm. And when I was growing up, stock meant cattle. So it's very ironic that I ended up where I did. And it was after I had been home. I'd left the bank, been home raising my kids for several years. And that in and of itself, that is a very challenging career for any of you who don't think that. But I always knew I wanted to get back into work. I wanted to be in an industry that helped people. And I just happened to have a friend who worked in the industry. And he said, Pam, why don't you come and try this out? He said, you can even start it part-time. You can, and I thought, I don't know. I was kind of, I didn't feel like I had the self-confidence from my background to go into this industry, but I did feel like through my experience as a client that I wanted to be the kind of investment advisor that I wanted for myself. And so started into the industry. I don't think I would have made it if I would have had to sit down and started cold calling clients, but I was able to ease my ways in and just found that, I had a knack for the finances, a knack for helping people, and licensing was a challenge, but I always made it through. And now being able to be control of my own schedule, to now have a business partner. And what has also been a challenge for me is not only do we have our own firm, but we now have employees. Mm-hmm. I've never been an employer, and that's a whole different game. But just being able to really help people in a time when they really need help. And there's so many of us baby boomers coming across that I actually just kind of fell into the industry, but been here 19 years and still going strong.
So is it more that you saw the need, like you're saying, for the baby boomers coming along and could provide help to them or service versus or something you've always been interested in investments your entire career? Or
I had not been interested in investments. They were very intimidating to me. Mm-hmm. But as I started in, I got to understand and see how much help that other people needed. And the baby boomers are kind of like this pig in the python that are going through all the different phases. And as they were coming into retirement, it was also a place of tremendous opportunity.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
Gotcha. Excuse me. So Pam, as you were shifting from banking, obviously, you were talked about raising your kids in between and moving into investment advisory. As you were kind of driving in the investment advisory direction, were there initially some obstacles you encountered along the way?
Yes. One of them was my self-confidence in myself. And for people who might be looking to make a difference, it's like people around me see me as very confident, but I was always dealing with this shy little girl who didn't deserve success, who didn't deserve, to be doing the things I was doing. And so that was probably my own obstacle, kind of a self-inflicted obstacle that I had. And then just learning the industry, starting and it, like I said, when I grew up, stock meant cattle. And so, but I think maybe that was helpful to me because I came in with a fresh mind and I didn't have any preconceived notions of what it was going to be or, and of course, being there and experiencing 2008 or 2007 through 2009. And then all of these things, challenges bring opportunities. And I think that's what I have found, as far as learning the industry. And I remember my first victory, I guess you would say, in the industry was selling a $35,000 mutual fund to a client. And that was, heart pounding and going through the whole process. But you can imagine being responsible for helping these people with their success. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned the first victory there with selling that first, was it the first client then you had? In the new, yeah.
Yeah. $35,000 mutual fund.
Right.
It was breathtaking for me.
Right. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. And it kind of slid up at that point. It's real, right? You've gone, it's all played out in your mind, but you've actually closed on it and you're you're on your way at that point.
And then I looked at the market every single day,
Right.
every single day. Still do, but with much broader experience.
Sure,
nice.
Sure.
Excellent.
Okay, Pam, go to your funny Keystone story. Tell us about that.
My funny Keystone story is my business partner, Kim, and I were traveling to some kind of training. It was down in Florida, and we flew into Sarasota because we wanted to visit some relatives of hers. And then we had about a 2-hour drive down to wherever it was we were going. We had a great conference, a great visit with her family. And it had just been very successful. And we still wanted to kind of hang out with some of the other advisors for one more day. But our ticket was for 7:00. So where we had to, and I'm like, why did we schedule that? Why didn't we schedule later out in the day or whatever? And we could have hung out with the advisors. But anyway, so when it was over, we got up at 3:00 in the morning to get ready and drive and be in Sarasota by 5 so we could pick up our 7:00 flight. So when we got there, we put our bags in and everything. We turned in the rental car and the ticket agent said, well, I've got you all checked in, but you realize your flight is 7 p.m. and not 7 a.m.
It was 14
That was
hours
me.
early.
I was the one. And I just looked at 7. I didn't notice the AM or PM. I just had it in my mind. Oh, 7 was so early. Why did we do that? So we had to go re-rent our car. We drove around. We found a place. We both put a pillow in the car and slept because we were so tired. And then the agent could tell we were so distraught from that she put us on an 11 a.m. flight out. But okay. We're human and we like to convey that to our clients and share those kind of things. So we pride ourselves on being approachable and real.
Nice. Yeah. You gotta have some humor in what you do. Otherwise,
you got to.
Yeah,
you got
exactly.
to.
Yeah. I laugh at myself all the time because I'm a very funny person. So.
Yeah.
You doing the same. The time zone thing reminded me of a funny story with a colleague was telling me that first time he'd been westbound across the international date line. I forget what part of Asia they were going to, but they had, was leaving, say, on a Sunday, and they were coming back on Tuesday. And he's like, oh, great. I'll have all Monday there. He made all these plans. When he got there, realized it was the next day already, and it was just a quick turn and coming back. But had an entire day's worth of plans scheduled and didn't realize he'd lost it crossing international date line.
Yeah. Oh, we can do crazy things with you, but I'm not allowed to make the travel plans anymore.
Right. See, you learn from things, right?
Oh,
your partner learned, I'll do this from now on. And
exactly.
Well, excellent. Well, where are you today in your journey with Keystone Partners?
We are just growing like crazy. We manage millions of dollars now. Mm-hmm. If you can imagine that, and building the business, we've gone from the 2 of us to an assistant, and we now have 5 employees. Mm-hmm. And some of them are working, off location, but that's kind of the way it is now. So, but just noticing the growth and the assets under management that we have, and it's very rewarding, very rewarding. So that growth we've been able to make mostly in the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
Great.
Since we came together. So,
all right. So Pam, maybe it's through Keystone, maybe it's you personally. Is there something you do to try to give back to the community, to your customers, something that you can share?
There's a lot that we do. As Keystone, we do a coffee and connections once a month where we bring in a guest who's talking about different things that are affecting people's lives, mostly retirees, but we'll bring in a Medicare specialist, we'll bring in a dementia specialist, we'll bring in a fitness specialist, directed toward the population that we work with. And those are very popular, to come. And then the people who actually come to it, we send them a $5 Dunkin' Donuts card, and they enjoy that. We do a lot of client events that are educational. So we're doing a lot of education in the community. And I also serve on a dementia-friendly committee for the city of Glendale. Dementia Friendly is nationwide, and there's certain things that you would get your city to agree to do to make it a dementia friendly city. So in the last 6 months, Glendale just got that designation. So I've been excited about that. I serve on the board of directors at a senior living community. Also been involved in a lot of fundraising. Keystone is part of Executive Women International, who raises scholarship money for adults going back to school. And I was involved in a Just Serve committee who helped bring communities and service opportunities together. And so we are all about being out in the community and being part and serving. We feel like that's really important.
That's great. Yeah, we believe that strongly ourselves. Bill and I run 2 monthly groups as a way to give back and to just try to help educate people. We run this platform, this podcast, and we also created a nonprofit that I'll mention at the very, very end. But again,
very cool.
Even well back before, I'm sure the same for all of us. But even well back before I was doing real estate full time, I was, did various different community service or oriented give back things. Because again, I do think it is something where that's part of something that enhances us. It just makes us better people to be able to recognize. Listen, we're very fortunate in so many ways, but there are others that are not. And if we can help them out in some way, that's a good thing for the whole world. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Pam, is there something you've recently implemented in your business at Keystone that's helped you grow and expand?
Yes, there has. Each year, for the last 2 years, we call it our second annual. We have a retreat where the 2 business owners and our office manager go off site. We've gone up in the mountains before. I think this coming year, we're going to go over to the beach in California. But we spend 3 or 4 days together talking about our goals for the next year and what we want to accomplish and how we can improve. We work on some of the snafus that we maybe had in the office and how to improve that. And one of the things that I took on as a goal that is really helping me is to trust the task. And as an advisor, I seem to get a little bit of ADD. I'm all over the place all the time. And if I can learn we have a new CRM system and a new way of putting tasks on. And their goal is to get me to use that instead of being all over the place all the time. Just, who I am, kind of a control freak. And so my goal has been to trust the task. And it's really put some order and some organization into things and so that I can be a more effective advisor. So something that simple, I think, can make a huge difference.
Good. Excellent.
So trust the task.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's easy. We talked about that before too. It's easy to, especially when you're starting out, you're building up a business. You are, like I said, control freak, control enthusiast, however you want to split that. But you need, in a way, you need to know all the parts of it, right? So, but then once you step back, you can't scale because you can't do every task. And I mean, in a multifamily, especially, it's a team sport because we can't be everywhere doing everything. You need to focus on, what you do best. Like I said,
delegation is key. My partner is the analytical one. I'm more the relationship one. And let people go with their strengths. But it's very difficult for me to delegate. It's just been a challenge. So that's another part of trusting the task. Know that someone else can do it too.
Okay. Good. That makes sense. Yeah. So Pam, what advice would you give somebody who's considering making a path change?
A path change?
Yeah.
Do it. Okay. Do it. A lot of the things that I dealt with my own self-esteem and such as like, well, what if I fail? What if I fail? I'd almost rather not try than have failure. And there's that little saying of what if I fail, but what if you fly? And I think, just give yourself the opportunity. If you want to make a change, make it. It might be where you're supposed to be. It might just bring you through an experience that leads you to something else. But do it. Don't be afraid. Don't let your that inner voice talk to you that you can't or you don't deserve or whatever it is, because a little farm girl who got her experience in banking now owns an investment firm and manages millions of dollars. And, I can't believe it. I'm so blessed. But if that can happen for me, what other people want to do can happen for them. Trust me.
Yeah, that reminds me of a of a time that, you said, Bill and I like the goals, we might not get the top goal, but even if I get here, it's better than, achieving down here.
Right.
As Bill and I were really driving toward apartments, I had a conversation with a potential investor where we were showing them an early one of our deals that we didn't get. Right. We're glad we didn't get this particular deal. but the mindset was limiting. And I was like, wow, okay. So the person commented to me as Bill and I were looking at about 100 unit. Wow, that's a pretty big jump. And I'm like, well, no, I think it's not big enough. I mean, honestly, and again, it wasn't the right deal. So Bill's in my first deal was 216 units. So there you go.
Right.
Shoot for the stars.
Right. I think one of the best books I've ever read was Steve Siebold's 177 Secrets of the Mentally Tough. I don't know if that's it exactly, but it talks about the world class, the middle class, and the lower class. And it's not talking about money, it's talking about mindset.
Right.
And that, so that was eye-opening to me.
There was a similar book, the Habits of the Wealthy or something, but it's how it split them up and said, and again, even just like in your mental image or your thought process on this, but it would say, the poor talk about people, the middle class talk about possessions, things, cars, boats, and the wealthy talk about ideas. It's just it's a different kind of mindset on what their focus is. What you focus on more, you become sharper at spotting those opportunities and what you're looking at. I think it's great. Well, Pam, what's the best way for our listeners to be able to reach out and learn more about Keystone and what you're involved with?
Oh, we have a website that's Keystone. Oh, what is our website? I just went blank. I call it COVID fog. KeystoneGroupAZ.com. That's KeystoneGroupAZ.com. The good old phone number, I'm kind of an old-fashioned gal, is 623-299-9710. And an email is team@KeystoneGroupAZ.com. So we'd love to hear any of your comments on the podcast, on anything that you're doing, even if it's thinking of going into another business that's totally unrelated. Call.
Absolutely. And we'll add those in the show notes below so they can easy contact information. Well, Pam, we definitely appreciate you being on the Road Less Traveled show today. Enjoyed the conversation. We wish you continued success.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. We certainly appreciate you being on. Really want to thank you for taking the time. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like Pam Prine on today. So thank you again, Pam. Please certainly, again, give us a 5-star rating. We'd also like to thank our show sponsor, which is Park Capital Partners that sponsors this show. And we want to remind everybody that we have the Park Capital Value Add Fund. That's a 506C fund, investment fund that's out and available today. And we also want to mention that I teased about it, so I'll just touch on it for 2 seconds. We created the Park Capital Partners Foundation. That is a 501c3 nonprofit that is designed to, when Bill and I fund the operations of the foundation, so the money goes to do its best work to help others. And then when investors invest with us, we make a donation to honor the investor to a charity of their choice. So please certainly check us out, check it out, and let us know if you have any comments, questions. We'd love to talk with you. So thanks again for joining everybody. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.